A little earlier. With me is Esra Ozyurek, a specialist in Turkey at the London School of Economics. Thank you so much for being with us. I mean, this was a very crucial meeting. Do you think Turkey welcomes the fact that the EU now acknowledges, recognises that to solve this crisis, Turkey has to be right there in the centre of the solution?
Yes, definitely. 2.5 million refugees are in Turkey, and Turkey shares a border with Syria. Now it is one of the few safe places around the country. So a solution cannot be reached without Turkey.
Now, the EU want to build 6 new camps inside of Turkey. What chance of the Turkish authorities agreeing with that?
They may agree. The problem in Turkey is that these people need to be given refugee status. They arrived 4.5 years ago, 2.5 million people. They had temporary protection status. 4.5 years later, they have no rights, they have no right to work, they don't have any income, they cannot go to schools. Only 17% of Syrian children have access to schools. Now recently their right to travel within the country is limited, so they cannot stay in a country where they have no rights. So that is really important.
The EU gave Turkey €1 billion only recently, but dealing with those sorts of numbers that you've just gone through, one suspects that much more is actually needed in terms of simple financial help.
Yes, exactly. I think it is a shift in policy. Turkey expected that this problem will be solved, so they opened the borders. It was the right thing to do so. They hope that these people will go back. But looking at the situation in Syria, it looks like many decades maybe will pass before they can ever go back. So it requires a huge policy change to make these people adapt in Turkish society and be productive members of Turkish society.
And what does the Turkish population want in terms of absorbing all those numbers?
Some tensions flare here and there, but overall I think Turkish people welcome these people. They understand that they are escaping from war. We haven't seen any mass killings, lynchings, we haven't seen anything that indicates that there is a tension. I think Turkish people are approaching these people compassionately. What is needed is that state action to make it possible for them to live in Turkey.
We heard there in that news conference the clip that we played again, Turkey's president returning to this idea that they've put forward before of safe havens within Syria itself. Now, that has always been resisted by the EU because, in part, there's a political dimension with the Turkish authorities trying to take on the PKK. Is it realistic that Turkey still thinks they can make that idea fly?
Yeah, I think this issue needs to be decoupled. Political solutions about Syria, how it can be resolved. Of course, the war has to be stopped. It has to be a safe place for people to live. But what will happen to these people who are in dire situation, who don't have their homes? These issues need to be coupled and handled separately. Making one to the condition of, the lives of these millions of people is totally unfair.
And just getting back to basics, because we have the winter coming up, we have a huge amount of people who are still making these perilous journeys, who are stuck in, some in camps, some outside of camps. I mean, what is the likelihood, do you think, that the Turkish authorities, the EU, can put together a deal relatively quickly?
It is not really difficult to give these people the right to work in Turkey. Turkey signed the Geneva Convention, so it recognizes refugees, but only coming from Europe and not coming from east of Turkey. Okay, even if they do not change it, it is not that difficult to give people the right to work, make schools accessible, give them right to travel in Turkey. If these conditions are met, I don't think so many people will be putting their lives at risk to migrate. And if Turkey needs some help to meet those conditions, I think European leaders also should be open to help Turkey to make their lives easy in Turkey.
Well, we should watch this one. Thank you so much for coming in and giving us that analysis.